Hey folks, welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. I've been doing a series of lessons called Note Reading for Fiddlers. It's kind of a mini course to help people read music or learn to read music in a more intuitive way, a more playful way. And even if you're not a fiddler, I think that a lot of these tips and strategies will help you to pick up note reading or sheet music notation. And so in this lesson, I'm just going to talk about some creative approaches that's going to build on some other things I've already taught. So we'll learn how to use call and response. Call and response. We'll learn how to use singing and audiation, which is the practice of hearing music in your head, to help us learn to read sheet music. So let's get started. All right, so I want to start by reviewing a process that I call intuitive note reading, and because that's going to play into what we do in this lesson. So the way it works, and we'll cut to a screen view now, or partial screen view, is that we play something, usually a small thing like a phrase from a tune or one bar of a scale, and we just play it a little bit, then we read it, and then we play and read at the same time. So in this lesson, we're going to use the example of Frere Jacques. So that's the first bar. It's on D string, open, 1, 2, open. So the general practice of intuitive note reading, you would play that a few times without reading. Just get comfortable with it. And then you go and read it. You look at those notes. So we'll do that right now on the FiddleHed page. So just study the notes. If they don't make sense, don't worry about it. Just look at it. Maybe play it again. I can see there's 4 notes. I can see the tabs. And just kind of do those. So those are the first 2 steps. Just play, just read, which you can see up here. And then finally, we read and play at the same time. And then, as part of our practice loop, we circle back to just playing. Then we just read, da 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 da, and then do both at the same time. And I've got a very in-depth lesson on this practice with lots of examples, but I'll just say one more thing about it, which is when you return to just playing, it's like a reset, which is really good because when you start reading, you might notice, if you're a beginner, you'll probably notice that your sound gets worse, your bow starts to slide down, you go out of tune, you have scratchy tone. And so when you return to just playing the thing, it's like a reset. You can kind of relax, get in touch with your body again. All right, and then when you just read, you can put all your attention on that, and then you again combine them, okay? And so in addition to just what I just did, let's start getting into some creative ways to do that. So first off, notice I didn't do the whole song. I just did the first bar, which is a key thing. If you try to read a whole song, it's like trying to read a whole book in one night. It's you're not going to remember much. Maybe you can force yourself with enough coffee to read the entire book, by sunup. But if we focus on one little thing, you're really going to comprehend it better. And so another practice thing you can do is to use a little play along track. So you'd basically use the same practice. Just play it. Now just read it. Okay, I think I got it. Now I do both. Playing and reading. Okay, so again, that's intuitive note reading. That's the whole process. The main things you got to do, or have, I should say, are sheet music with audio and that perfectly match and sync together, okay? So, and then it also is very useful to have little snippets of things rather than the whole thing. So maybe if you have a teacher you meet with, that teacher could record little bars for you, like just, you basically can turn any bar, any part of a fiddle tune into a little exercise. So, and throughout my course, I've got a lot of these. I mean, the whole course is built on these kind of, I call them learning chunk snippets, where you have a tab, a sheet music, and a play along track. But whatever method you use, you can intuitively start to get how the notes work by looking at it, approaching it that way. So now I'm just going to give you some creative approaches. So you can do it with a play along track, without a play along track, or you could do the same process with the D drone. Get to that in a minute. I actually thought of another thing. If you use a play along track, like the one I just did with the beat and the guitar or whatever, then you're locked into that beat. But if you do it without it, you can really do it more slowly and at your own pace. And then when you're reading, you can really more slowly read. All right. And then another way to do that process at your own pace is to use a D drone track. I love drones. I drone on and on about using drones. So here's a D drone. And since Frere Jacques is in D major, we can use this. So there's the drone. And I can just basically practice playing that piece. And while it's playing, I'm going to go back up and look at those notes. Da, 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 da. And now I try to do both at the same time at my own pace. Real slow. Maybe after a while I start to get it. Okay, I can do it a little faster. It's starting to make sense. Okay? And you can, another idea is, say you're doing, like Frere Jacques is really repetitive, but say you're doing some other tune, you could double up each loop. So let's say you're learning to read Whiskey Before Breakfast. You could play it once and then read it once, play it and then read it. Or you could play it twice. Read it twice, and then play and read it twice. So just a simple idea, but when you do things twice, even if you repeat everything you do twice, it's sort of like a magic rule of thumb that helps you to just get it. Because that second time, your body is just like, okay, I've got this now, right? So that little practice tip applies to anything that you're learning. Okay, so now we're gonna get into another key thing for learning note reading, which is to practice it with singing. So singing is one of the basic ways to train your ear, most basic way to train your ear. And if you start to, I would say start with fiddling, because for a lot of you that might be more comfortable and familiar. But I strongly recommend you sing stuff, but you don't have to use your singing voice. You can hum it or whistle it, because some people are just for whatever reason don't feel like singing. So I like to offer those options. Look at the same piece, and we could, instead of fiddling, I was about to fiddle it, we could just sing the notes. So now I've been playing it, I can kind of sing it now. Da 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 da. If the song has words, if it's a tune with words like this, you would sing the words. Frere Jacques. You sing it a few times, then look at the notes, and then try to sing and look at the notes at the same time. Frere Jacques, Frere Jacques. All right? And so it's basically the same idea, okay? But we're singing instead. Singing is one of the most powerful practices you can do, because you really start to internalize music, you'll remember things better, and you'll play better in tune. And then you could use the same practice variations. You could use the play along track. So let's do that.
1, 2, 3.
So just play or sing. Now just read. Now do both. Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques. Now just sing. Da 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 da. And then you continue that same practice loop. All right. So you could also do it without a play along track or with a drone track. Okay. So the next thing we'll do is singing and fiddling. So I like to think of what we're doing here as practice loops. We're kind of like we alternate between singing, reading, and then doing both, and then you keep looping on those 3 operations. It's kind of a nice little routine to kind of help you learn something. So now we'll do a slightly different routine, actually adding just like a step basically. We're gonna sing and fiddle. So we're gonna alternate between singing, playing, fiddling, and reading. Okay, so I have a diagram for you here. By the way, these are all just suggestions. You can mix these ideas up and try it in your own way. Let me know if maybe you'll find a better way to do it than what I've suggested. But I think that this is just these suggestions are good for getting you more actively practicing note reading. And the cool thing is that all these things we're learning, like singing and alternating with fiddling, you can do that with anything else. Like even say you're not even practicing note reading, you're just practicing some hard thing, some hard melody, you could try to sing it and then play it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a bigger practice loop. We're just going to play, then we're just going to sing, then we're going to play and read, and sing and read. And so by play and read, I mean play your instrument. And so that means if you're a guitarist, you would be playing that. If you're a fiddler, which most of you who watch my videos are, then you would fiddle during that. So let's walk through the steps, same example. So it start by just playing the first quarter of Frère Jacques. Now just sing it. Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques. Now do fiddle and read. So I'm gonna pull up the sheet music again. So now I fiddle and read. And now I will sing and read. Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques. And I start over with just playing. Do 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 do. Play and read. And so on. Okay. So again, it's the same process over and over again, but all these different angles on the same thing will help you to get this, all right? And it'll especially some of you might be bored because it's this simple little piece. You're like, I get it, Frère Jacques, I get it. But as the music becomes more complicated, I think you can see that these little strategies will be helpful. You pare it down to a bar, maybe even half of a bar. You know, if it's 16th notes, without getting too much into it, we can have lots and lots of notes in a bar. You may need to do half the bar or a quarter of the bar to figure it out. And then having all these tools, these practice tools, will be an amazing way for you to get anything. It's the whole principle, I call it micro practice, also known as deliberate practice. If you can hone in enough on something, eventually you get to a point where a hard thing is not as hard, maybe not hard at all. And so that's what I hope you get out of this, whatever instrument you play. Okay, so that's a bigger practice loop. Oh, one more note on that. So looking at this diagram that I have, just play, just sing, play and read, sing and read. There's a variation you could do on that I just thought of. You could just play, then play and read. I'll pull up the sheet music just to drive the point home. Then you could just sing, Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques, then sing and read, Frère Jacques. So I changed the order. I'm gonna make another diagram, and by the time you get to the FiddleHed page, which is free for 1 week, by the time you get to the FiddleHed page, it'll read just another option will be just play and read, just sing and read. So cool. So now you ready for the Jedi Knight next step for ear training and learning note reading? It's called audiation. If you're not a FiddleHed, for all those people who are new to my lessons, I'm just going to briefly explain audiation. It's a term, I didn't make up the word, but it's a term that refers to hearing music in your head. We all do it. We all hear like voices, our own voice talking, or a snippet of a song we like. And so the thing that I'm kind of trying to do, and that I think is new, a new version of audiation, is to actively practice it in a simple way. Basically, you play something, like let's stick to Frère Jacques, and then see if you can hear that in your head, just as it sounds on the fiddle or whatever instrument. And then you play it again. Can you hear it in your head? Now, don't worry if you can't hear it in your head. You may need to just sing it for a while, okay? But a tip though, like an intermediate step for doing audiation is to hum whatever it is. So most people can hum. Then you'd play. But humming is great because your mouth is closed. It's starting to be more internal. And then after you hum it enough, eventually try to not hum it and just hear, or maybe hum it more softly. And play loud. And eventually get to the point where you only hear it in your head. And that's the Jedi Knight method. Remember that scene from Star Wars when Luke Skywalker is battling? They're on the Millennium Falcon, and he's practicing his lightsaber technique, and there's a robot droid ball floating in the air shooting lasers at him, and he's not doing too well. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi puts the mask on him, and he can't see, but he channels the Force and uses it. That's why I call audiation a Jedi Knight practice. You internalize the music to such a degree that you can practice in your mind. I feel like such a music nerd right now. Anyway, so let's now apply it to note reading. Thank you for listening to that tangent. For all of you people who already know what audiation is, I realized I went off a bit long on that. So just like singing, it's now just treated as the same process that we did with singing. You could just play something, then just audiate it in your head. Then you could play and read something, and then audiate and read it. So let's slowly go through each step. So I just play it. Now I just audiate it. I'm gonna hum it to demonstrate. Now I play and read this little bit. So I'm gonna. All right, now here's the Jedi Knight, the ultimate Jedi Knight step. I'm gonna audiate and read. So as I look at the music, I see if I can hear those notes. I can, but I've been doing this a long time. If that's difficult at first, do not worry. Do not beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself. It takes time. Remember that instead of audiation, hum it. Okay? Humming is your friend. It also, a great thing about humming is that if you haven't done it in a while, it feels so good. Try right now and put your hand on your chest and just hum. It's really relaxing. I almost think I want to do a lesson just on humming, and I want to do anyway. I don't want to go off on another tangent. Trying to stay focused on the task at hand. So anyway, and just as with singing, you can change the way that you do your practice loop. So you could just play something, then play and read it now, then just audiate it, and then audiate and read, right? Okay, so, and then with audiation, you wouldn't use like the play along track with the fiddle and the guitar, because part of the point of it is that you're hearing that in your head, you're not hearing it from the external world. But you could probably use a drone track. So I on the page, I think I have a drone track. Oh, this is something, oh yeah. So anyway, you could use like a call and response track as well. So I have something set up for this here. Basically, you play something, and then there's a gap. There's a call and response loop, and then play it. And then right, so you get the idea. This is actually more of an experimental thing. Try it out with audiation for me, please. And then if you like it, maybe I'll make more of them. It's a little experiment. So just some reminders about the INR process, that's intuitive note reading. You can do it on small fragments of a tune, like just 2 notes. And then I play and read it, or read it, and then I play those 2 notes and read them. Or you could do them on a bigger piece, like the whole quarter of the tune, or the half of the tune, or the whole tune. So I could play the whole tune, just read the whole tune, or play and read the whole tune. And so that about does it. Those are the main, just to sum up, you could use intuitive note reading practice. You could use singing instead of playing your instrument. You could use fiddling and singing, or playing and singing, and mix that up with note reading. And then you could use audiation with that as well. And I suggest I do this in a few of the lessons, suggest some really simple, familiar tunes. And this generally goes for anybody learning to read. First learn to play the basic instrument, the basics of your instrument, the fundamentals. And then when you're starting to learn to read, pick out tunes that you hear really well, like the whole audiation of hearing things in your head. You want to be able to hear them well before you start. So like Mary Had a Little Lamb is a good example. It's just a tune that most people know. Frere Jacques. Oh Susanna is another one that everybody. And so all these tunes are a little bit simpler, some better known than others, but those are some suggestions I have for starting this process and reading. And I think that about does it. So in the note reading for fiddlers course, there's these sort of intuitive approaches of learning to recognize patterns, learning to hear and associate what you hear with what you read. But then I also create some more kind of like exercises where you just basically are given a line of sheet music and you have to practice reading it. Okay, so that's kind of a more nuts and bolts approach. And then I also have a bunch of like call and response games and other fun stuff. So just to let you know. Okay, well, thanks for watching this. And I'm sure there's other creative ways to practice learning notation and music reading and theory while we're at it. So if you have any ideas that you discover in your own practice, just let me know. Okay, thank you so much. Always fun to teach you, and we'll see you next time. Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more.
Thanks for watching the video. Excellent.
And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.